Since 29th of May, when Mr. Bola Ahmed Tinubu was inaugurated as the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, during which he announced the removal of subsidy of petrol, the pump price has tripled from about 200 naira to over 600 naira, leading to the increase in the prices of goods and services. This obviously has affected the economic situation of lots of Nigerians. And in response, the Nigerian Labour Congress embarked on a two-day warning strike on Tuesday, September 5, to protest the government's removal of fuel subsidy and promised an indefinite strike if the situation persists. Although the federal workers still await the fulfillment of the promise made by President Bola Tinubu to review salaries upwards, some state governments rolled out palliatives to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal. In the meantime, the meeting between the federal government and the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC to avert an indefinite strike ended in a deadlock, while the federal government expresses worry over the economic impact of another strike on the nation's economy. The Labour Union demands wage award, among other things, to cushion the effect of the subsidy removal. How can Nigeria Labour Congress reach equilibrium on this matter to avert the impending strike? Nigeria Today seeks answers to this, and as it discusses matters arising from the impending Labour indefinite strike. I am your carrier, Clinton. Welcome to Nigeria Today. Joining me in the studio to discuss impending Labour indefinite strike is a public affairs analyst, John Desmond. You're welcome to Nigeria Today.
Thank you for having me in your studio.
Also joining us via Zoom is another public affairs analyst, Jide Ujo. It's always a pleasure to have you with us on the program.
Okay, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Good evening, Nigerians.
I'll start with you, John. The Nigerian Labour Congress is, considering an indefinite strike, citing non-fulfillment of a promise made on the part of the government. Now, is this the solution?
Well, strike is not a solution to negotiation, but of course they have their rights. And already the president has hinted the nations that those things that the labor union are asking for is in pipeline and they are working on it. So the only way now to sort out and to solve and to come to a very reasonable conclusion is by returning back to the negotiating table. Now, embarking on strike would disrupt the process. Already the nation is already handicapped with a lot of challenges. Striking now at this moment will not solve the problem. And for us not to complicate the matter, it is better to go back to the table and negotiate, the shortest means of getting out of the jam lock that the removal of petroleum subsidy has brought to the nation.
Now, Jide, we're talking about a total system, or let's say economic shutdown. Now, considering the fact that the federal government is still open to talks, is this impending or considering or this indefinite strike that intend to embark upon, is it not a little bit an extreme action?
Well, okay, you may say it's an extreme action, but an extreme action demands an extreme solution. When the subsidy was removed on May 29, 2023, the federal government set up a tripartite committee, and they had a term of reference, and the agreement was that this whole issue will be resolved within 2 months, which is 8 weeks. It's been more than 100 days that the president is in power, and not much seems to have been achieved. I wouldn't say nothing has been achieved, but in terms of what the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress are demanding, many of them has not been addressed. The issue of wage award, the issue of tax exemption, the issue of CNG buses, and then, general welfare packages for the Nigerian workers has not been met. And if you say you are going to trash out an issue within 8 weeks, and it's going to 14 weeks now, and nothing concrete has been achieved, then I wouldn't blame the NLC and TUC for wanting to go on strike. What I would just appeal to them to do is to give government more time, given the fact that Mr. President is not in the country. Recall that when they went on protest, was it in July or early August, when they went on street protest, Mr. President, at a very short notice, met with the leaders of the NLC, TUC, and Pengasa, and made some commitments. Since that time, the president hasn't met with them. Of course, in the course of time, we now have ministers' inauguration. So we have 2 ministers manning the Ministry of Labor and Employment. But they have only delegated authority. So they have to report back to the president. What we read in the papers is that the Minister of Labor and Employment, Mr. Simon Lalong Esquire, did meet with the Vice President yesterday, but what they have agreed on is not made known to the public. Meanwhile, the 21 days notice given by the NLC expires tomorrow. So we can only make appeal for NLC to give more time, and we should commend the Nigerian labor unions, because if not for their effort, today we will have been buying a liter of petrol for as much as 800, 900 naira per liter. Remember that in the course of time, the price of PMS rose from about 210 to 610 now. And given the exchange rates, volatility, and all the issues around landing cost and logistics, if the NLC hasn't threatened that they will not allow for further increase in the price of PMS, particularly if the issue of PMS have been left to market forces to determine, you and I would definitely have been paying a lot more than what we currently pay for a liter of PMS. So we should commend them for intervening on behalf of the general masses, but we can only appeal to them not to go on indefinite strike at this point, because it will hurt the economy. I recall that the two-day strike they embarked on early last week or 2 weeks ago, impacted negatively on those of us in Abuja, because there was shutdown of the electricity corporation, and so we didn't have lights, and all the banks and other financial institutions also didn't work. So in the light of excruciating pain that their indefinite strike will bring on the general masses whom they are fighting for, including the workers, we could just plead with them to allow the president return to the country so that he can personally chair meeting where this issue can be laid to rest. We have heard that wage award is on the way, but there has not been any definite pronouncement about that. But we should just look at it both sides, that government has been foot dragging and needs to speed up things to be done.
Thank you very much. Now, John, the Minister of Labour and Employment, Mr. Simon Lalong, had said the meeting will, of course, yield a positive result. He expressed optimism, but at the end of the day, it appears it ended in a deadlock. Now, what would be your suggestion as to how the strike could be averted at this point?
Of course, there are few things that is still on the table, and the major of it is the salary review, and this is a constitutional matter. The whole system has to agree on a certain amount, and just as Jide has just said, the president is not in town, negotiation is ongoing. So to avert the strike on the side of the federal government, by now, as he said, we should have an average tentative, a kind of amount that we are sure we can pay for the next few years while the economic improve, so that can be made available to the NLC, so that they can go back to their congresses and agree and come back, to avert the total shutdown on Nigeria. Then on the side of NLC, they should also appreciate the effort of the president so far. It's a lot of things on the table. Apart from the salary increase, the wage merge, or the wage award. Governments within the shortest period has released palliative. What you see going on in the state is as a result of the 5 billion given to the state. The president, in his own wisdom, also look, let's support our people with food materials. Give each state about 5 trailer loads of rice, So the remaining one, it's what needs to be negotiated holistically. Is there any amount the NLC is actually looking onto? Because let's not look that we are not part of the economic. We are all part of the economic. We know what the nation can afford at this moment. And is there any amount that government is also looking at, so that we can come to a compromise, come to conclusion, and begins to move the nation forward?
All right, let's pause here for a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Going on the drawing board is what matters. Not strike will never solve the problem, because it has never. Dialogue should be the best solution where agreement could be reached. Well, probably let it be a kind of with action, follow up with action, because Nigerians have lost confidence on the Nigerian Labour Congress. So the Labour Congress need to also find a systematic strategy to bring back that lost glory, to rebuild the confidence, remobilize the public, and remobilize the institutions and even the other subsector of the labor. You can see that TUC didn't support the strike action. And then definitely even the public have not really done well.
My feeling when I hear that NSC wants to embark on strike.
Okay.
Yes, my feeling is whether the strike is going to be effective, whether NSC is a toothless dog who can only bark but cannot bite, because government is too powerful.
Welcome back. This is still Nigeria today, and we're looking at impending indefinite strike by the NLC. Now, Jide, you had the reaction of Nigerians there, and some had said, will it be effective? And is this a way can the NLC rebuild the confidence of the people? Now, could it be that they are trying to, build back the confidence of the people, by going on this indefinite strike?
Well, we must say that this is not just about Nigerian labor unions. They are working together with the civil society organizations. And like one of the people in the Vox Pop said, whether the Nigerian labor unions will be able to take on government. Because government has within its power to blackmail, and they've done that in the past, saying that the activities of the labor unions are politically motivated, given the fact that the NLC also has a political party who fielded candidates in the last elections. But we need to look beyond partisan interest. This is about the whole essence of the country. Much as I empathize with the president, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he has to also understand that as much as we are willing and ready to tighten our belts, we haven't seen much on the part of people in government doing same, because they still ride in posh cars. They are still living in posh buildings. I've not heard any of them saying that they are taking a cut in their salaries and allowances. So for the ordinary masses whose businesses have been impacted negatively, who have lost their means of livelihood or who could no longer afford to have a meal, they are looking up to NLC and the other labor unions to help them pressurize governments to do something. My brother there in the studio talked about the 5 billion naira palliative fund. You should remember that 48% of that sum is a loan and only 52% is a grant. And what is 5 billion out of a country of over 200 million? Assuming without considering that you even use the entire 5 billion to buy grains, how many people within a state can benefit? We have seen in those states fights between a ward chairman and a commissioner leading to a fracas in which the commissioner was injured over issues of distribution of palliative. We've seen trending videos of a whole world getting one bag of rice that will be shared to how many hundreds or thousands of people. So what we are saying is that if the president said he has in 2 months saved over 1 trillion naira from petrol subsidy, I think what should have been budgeted for economic relief packages should be more than that 500 billion. However, part of what NLC and TUC is asking for is the speeding up of the release of the micro and small medium enterprises loan that the president has pledged that they were going to give to small and medium enterprises. All of this needs to be done in a speedy manner because life is of essence here. People have been bearing with this harsh economic climate. This month, September, many parents could no longer pay their children and war school fees because of the rising cost of living. Many people could no longer pay rent. Many people could no longer afford to go to the hospital because of the exorbitant cost. So government needs to show more empathy. And like I said, the leadership from president to governors to ministers to commissioners to local government chairperson, we want to see them showing more than they are doing now. They should show more empathy to the masses about cutting down their own cost of governance substantially, so that we know that they also feel our pinch. It's not for them to sermonize that they feel our pains. Let us see that they actually feel it by cutting down the cost of governance substantially. Let's see them donate their salaries or take a cut in their salaries and allowances, reduce their convoys, and other cost-saving measures, so that the masses will know that, yes, we have leaders who really show empathy, not situations where we have National Assembly, earmarking 40 billion to buy Porsche cars as official car. That is in the media space. Whether that is true or not, if it is true, I don't think this is the right time for them to go ahead with such purchases. We are also talking of 70 billion that they have also earmarked for the renovation of the National Assembly complex.
Now, thank you very much, Jide. Let's also give John the opportunity to react to the to the vox pop there. Have people actually lost confidence in the NLC?
The strength of NLC is not as usual as it used to be during the days of Adams or Shomole. And a lot of issues has come up that the NLC couldn't stand for the people. But that doesn't mean we have lost confidence in them. No, we've not lost confidence in them. We still believe in them. And they are the leadership of Nigerian labor forces. And
because here we are also asking them to understand and go to the negotiation table.
Yes, so they will, because the Minister for Labor, it's calling them, and he has a lot to offer Nigerians through them. So going on strike will not solve the problem. Returning back to negotiating table will help us to see the needs and attend to it speedily so that the masses can get, the evidence of renewed hope of President Tinubu. Okay,
now, Jide, as wonderful or as acceptable as the demands of the NLC might seem to the public servant, it might also come with the costs, because they've talked about upward review, wage award and all of that. Now, some public analysts have argued that the public service is overpopulated. Now, if the public service, according to the argument, is overpopulated, now, with all these demands, don't you think that it will lead to maybe somewhat of downsizing to ensure that these monies are being, paid? Because if the government does not have enough, like we rightly said, the economy now is not really as, as wonderful as we would want it. We are still, the present administration is still working it out. So I want to hear your thought on this. Because right now we're still dealing with the high level of unemployment.
Thank you, Ikeria. You see, we should commend government for not downsizing, at least the federal government, even under the Buhari administration. In spite of the economic downturns, Buhari never sacked any worker except for disciplinary measure. And that is very good, because a sack of one worker means you have taken food off the table for over 10 people. However, the fact that if the labor unions press too much, government may resort to downsizing or sack of some workers, should not prevent them from fighting for their rights. It's part of the ILO convention, that's the International Labour Organization, for workers to protest, for workers to go on industrial action. So it's not a privilege, it's a right. What we can just do is to appeal to the labor unions to give government more time. When you have a right and not a privilege, it shows that if you do it, heavens will not fall. We cannot, because government may resort to downsizing of workers. I tell you for free, Ukeria, as we speak, the Nigerian civil service is still grossly underpopulated. Look at the medical sector. How many doctors and nurses have been employed to replace those who have jackpot, those who have left the shores of this country? How many? You had a case in Lagos where one doctor allegedly worked for 72 hours and eventually slumped in the church and died. That's to tell you that workers are not even enough. Even in teaching service, there are not enough teachers. So on what basis will you want to rationalize or downsize work? Because there have not been recruitment in the last few years. So we should just join NLC, join NLC to temper justice with mercy, allow for the president to return and meet with the president to get a concrete, decisive action plan. Wage award does not need constitutional alteration. Wage award is like Udoji award that workers got in 1975. That one can be done unilaterally, just like what Buhari.
Thank you very much. I really wish we had more time for you to, tell us more. But that's it on Nigeria Today. I would like to appreciate my guest, John Desmond, he's a public affairs analyst. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you. Okay.
And also a very big thank you to Jide Ojo, a public affairs analyst also. Thank you for honoring our invitation.
It's my pleasure. Do enjoy your weekend.
And it's been wonderful having you with us. Don't forget Nigeria Today, weekdays at 7:30 p.m. on NTA News 24. You can also watch this and other episodes on www.youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. Once again, thank you for watching. I am Eukaria Clinton. Goodbye.
your competitors, NTA News 24 has all the platforms for your target audience. With our digital format and wide range, we can reach your customers in next to no time. We are eager to promote your business, goods and services. So, partner with us for a very rewarding business experience. For more information, please call or visit our office at NTA Headquarters, Area 11, Garki, Abuja. NTA News 24. News and more news.
The purpose for the creation of the ISTADEC is to alleviate the suffering of the people. I know the problem of our people. We have articulated a lot of projects for our community.
NTA News 24 has the sole mandate bringing news to you anywhere and everywhere.
We set standards based on current broadcast realities while consolidating on a wider reach to variety of audiences.
We go beyond the screaming headlines to verify